Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
Be more right in the world of Pokemon, and then a group of humans who sought to control the world came and began using Pokemon for their evil ways. Team Rocket, under the leadership of Giovanni, began stealing Pokemon from other trainers. One boy rose above them all and fought valiantly against the evil Team Rocket, but alas, in the end they proved to be too strong. Sorrow began to fill the hearts of many trainers as they tried to fight against the evil team and failed like their fellow trainer. When all hope seemed lost, the god of Pokemon itself appeared before them. Using its divine powers, he sealed away the power and abilities of his children inside his 17 plates. When the powers were gone, the Pokemon disappeared as well. The god itself also disappeared as all of its power was gone. The plates turned into a dull gray color and fell to the ground, where they sunk and vanished from the world. The evil Team Rocket became enraged, so using their high-level technology and DNA samples that they took from the Pokemon that they had captured to try to create a powerful creature. However, they failed, and instead they created a horrible monster that was death itself. The monster stood over 1,000 feet tall. The body was pure black with horns in its head. It had only one single eye. It was a blood-red color with 6 rings and 9 tomos. The one thing that distinguished it the most was its 10 massive tails that with a single swipe could change the landscape. Its power destroyed the continent. The monster was dubbed the Jubi, the 10-tailed monster. Humans for years hid from the monster. Their cities were gone. Their technology was useless. Trainers who were brave tried to catch the creature in a Pokeball. Nothing worked. Humans were driven near to extinction. When all hope was thought to be lost, a man appeared out of nowhere and battled the monster. For 10 days and nights the two fought. In the end, the man used a special power and defeated the monster by sealing it into his body. When people saw this happen, they were in a state of shock that someone had actually defeated the monster that had terrorized them for years. The man was then given the name of Rikudo Sennin, the Sage of 6 Paths. The man then went to tell them how he had gained power and began to teach them all his way to survive in this new world. Sadly, technology was unable to be saved, and they destroyed anything from computers to Pokeballs and anything that was made with technology, opting to begin anew. Years passed and civilization rose to its former glory. Although there was no technology, no one missed it. People were actually happy. Another thing that rose was the beginning of the ninja era, as many people now used the energy that the Rikudo Sennin taught them, chakra. However, what no one knew was that the Sennin was getting old, and as he aged, the seal that held the Jubi was getting weaker. The night soon came. He was on his deathbed. Around him stood his 2 sons. One had inherited his chakra while the other had his eyes, and he told the 2 what to do and to lead the people into a new era. The time soon arrived. As he was on his last strings, the Rikudo Sennin used the last of his power to do the impossible. He took the Jubi's power and split it into 9 parts that he scattered around the world. After doing that, he then sealed the body into a rock that he hurled into the sky, creating the moon. Smiling from the thought of keeping the world safe, the Sennin fell to the ground dead. After the world found out about the death of their savior, they were saddened, but they would not let his memory fade. Many wrote about his deeds. And the legacy of the Rikudo Sennin lived on, until the 2 sons fought against each other. During their battles, many priceless scrolls were lost and never to be seen again. Eons later, eons passed and many things changed. Shinobi clans were formed. Wars broke out between them, bringing chaos to the lands. People died, but the fighting didn't stop, so many turned to look for new weapons to use, and they found them in the form of tailed beasts that contained massive power. The very same creatures that the Rikudo Sennin had created. Using seals, they tried to control the beast, but nothing worked on them. Then 2 men appeared. One was a member of the Uchiha clan and the other was a man from the Senju. They had powers to subdue the beast and control them to a certain degree. The 2 would constantly fight for power and dominance. With the power of the beast, feeling the land to be threatened by these countless bloodshed, a new clan rose to stop the fighting, the Uzumaki clan. Using their powerful sealing skills, they sealed away the beast into anything that would hold them, from a tea kettle to a large pot. Except for one, the strongest of them all was the Kyubi no Yoko. Its power was so great that it could not be sealed away like the others. Instead, it was sealed inside an Uzumaki woman by the name of Mito Uzumaki, who later married the head of the Senju clan Harishama Senju, the first Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. The beast has since been passed to another host after keeping the beast at bay for years, but things aren't meant to last forever. Accidents happen all the time. Years later, a 7-year Naruto Namikaze sat on top of the Hokage monument staring down at the village that he calls his home. However, it sure didn't feel like home. 7 years ago, on the day he and his sister were born, the Kyuubi no Yoko had attacked their village, forcing his father Minato Namikaze to seal the beast away. Using a powerful seal, he sealed the beast into Naomi, his twin sister. At first, life was good, but when they reached the age of 4, their parents decided to start training them. He had never been so excited in his life. But everything went downhill after that day. Minato had forced open Naomi's chakra and were astounded by the amount. As for him, that was the day his parents began to forget about him. Why? Simple, he did not have a single ounce of chakra in all of his body. That's right, Naruto had no chakra whatsoever, so his parents took Naomi under their wing and left him to fend for himself. They would say, "What kind of shinobi will you become if you can't use chakra? Instead of bringing honor to the clan, you will bring nothing but shame." So Naomi trained with her parents while Naruto would just stand near the house just watching them. Minato and Kushina didn't bother to teach him taijutsu or kenjutsu, 2 skills that would help him become a ninja, but when he asked, his parents just said that Naomi needed the training. So he just began to distance himself away from his family, and about a year ago he was forgotten by them. After spending about an hour on top of the Hokage monument, he stood up and began to walk away, heading home. He knew that Naomi's training would be done by now. Walking through the streets, he could see people talking happily. No one even spared him a glance. It was always like this. Sometimes he even thought that it would have been better if he wasn't born at all. Running away also came to mind. Actually, now that he thought about it, and maybe leaving the village wouldn't be too bad. Who would miss him? No one. He had no friends to hang out with, and to his family he didn't exist anymore, so maybe he should leave. Naruto soon arrived at the Namikaze compound. He noticed that no one was outside, so his suspicion of Naomi's training being done was right. Shaking his head, he walked up to the front door and entered the house. As soon as he finished taking off his shoes, he heard laughter coming from the living room. Walking in the direction, he came to the sight of his parents and sister. Sitting on the couch along with them was the head of the Hyuga clan, Hiashi, and his family. Also with them was the head of the Yamanaka clan, Inoichi, and his family. Naomi was talking about her training with her 2 best friends Hinata and Ino. Seeing that no one took notice of him, he just kept on walking to his room. Had he glanced again, he would have the blonde Yamanaka girl look at him. Once safe inside of his room, Naruto went straight to bed, knowing that he would be forgotten once again and that he would most likely have to go eat once everyone went to bed. As he laid there, he didn't notice how tired he actually was and for some reason fell asleep. The next morning when the blonde woke up, he felt strange for some reason. He was still pretty tired even though he never actually trained. Getting out of his bed, he dressed himself in a pair of blue shorts, a white short-sleeved t-shirt, and out on a pair of sandals. Leaving the comfort zone of his room, Naruto headed downstairs only to find no one. Shrugging, he went into the kitchen and prepared his breakfast. After eating, he went back to his room where he pulled a book from under his bed and began reading. Hours passed and still no one arrived. When lunchtime came, he went downstairs to fix something to eat when he passed the calendar that hung on the wall. He clenched his hands into fist when he saw the note on it. It said vacation weekend, and they had gone on vacation again, leaving him behind without a care in the world. That was it, he screamed in his mind. No more. He was sick and tired of being ignored. If they didn't care about him, then so be it. The only thing he could think about now was what it would have been like had he been a single child. Would he have the Kyuubi inside of him? Would his parent teach him? All those questions went through his mind. He could only blame one thing that made his life a living hell: the Kyuubi and its container, the Kyuubi whore. Turning abruptly, he walked back upstairs and went to his room. The first thing he did was go to his closet where he pulled out a green backpack. Throwing it on his bed, he opened it. The next thing he did was go to his dresser where he began to pull out sets of clothes and throw them in the green backpack. The next thing, he went over to the far corner of his room and removed the loose wood tile and pulled out a small shoebox that he stole from Naomi. Inside of it he had some money that he managed to make by helping out the elderly. Naruto tossed the money into the bag and threw the box on the floor. He didn't even replace the loose tile, he left it like that. Now that he had everything ready, he put the bag under his bed and began to plan when he would leave the village. He knew that he would have a while before anyone even found out that he was gone. Hell, those bastards might not even find out at all. The weekend passed and Monday soon arrived. Naruto was pulling the last of the touches in his escape plan. Tonight was the night. The blonde walked out of his room and headed downstairs. As soon as he got to the living room, he realized that his parents had returned. However, they didn't even acknowledge him. Instead, they were looking at a pack of what seemed to be photographs, probably from their trip. He watched as they held his sister close to them, showing her so much affection, something that he yearned for but would never receive. Without saying a thing, he walked out of the house, left the compound and headed straight for the forest. People back away when they felt the killing intent that he was exuding. Those bastards, they care for nothing but her. It's always her. When was the last time I was held like that? I guess that I should leave and never come back, Naruto thought as he walked through the woods. He was about to turn around and return to the village to finish his preparation to leave, when he suddenly slipped on something and went tumbling down the side of a small hill. Naruto rolled down the hill and hit a tree. The impact caused him to black out. By the time the blonde came to, it was already dark. Gritting his teeth from the pain on his back, he stood up and used the tree he had hit when he rolled down the hill as a support. Putting his hand on his injured area, he began to walk in the direction he thought the village was in. However, since it was dark, he couldn't see the direction he was heading in. After what seemed to be hours, Naruto came to a stop next to a bush that hid a blue berry on it. His stomach growled. Without a second thought, he grabbed the berry and ate it. As soon as he finished eating it, the pain on his back diminished to the point that it was only a little sore. He didn't know how a simple berry healed him. Smiling, he looked around to see if there were more, but his search was cut short when he stepped in a spot that felt soft. His eyes went to the ground just in time to see the ground below him give away. The next thing he knew, he was falling. Naruto let out a loud scream as he fell. He was scared. He had never felt such fear before. The only thing he could do was close his eyes and pray to whatever deity could hear him to help him. He felt his body hit something wet. He opened his eyes to see that he had landed in some sort of underwater pond. It wasn't deep enough that it would prevent him from swimming to the bank. Naruto stood on the bank of the lake, taking in his surroundings. For being some sort of underground cavern, it was well lit. Most of the light seemed to be coming from deeper in the cavern. Shrugging, Naruto began to follow the path that led deeper to see what he would find. So far there wasn't much, just a bunch of crystals that seemed to be the light source for the cave. He could see an even brighter light approach. Raising his hands to shield his eyes from the blinding light as he exited the cave he was following. When the light seemed to die down, the blonde removed his hands from his face only for his jaw to hit the ground at what he saw. He was standing inside the biggest underground cave he had ever seen. There were trees all over the place, each full of different kind of berries. There was also a stream flowing through the middle of the place with a bridge to help cross it. At the far end he could see steps, lots of steps leading up to some sort of platform. For once in his life he felt at peace, as if his life had never had any hardships. This place was peaceful, as if man hadn't touched anything in here for a long time. Wanting to see more, Naruto began to walk around. The first thing he did was find more of those blueberries that had made his pain go away. Once he had those, he crossed the bridge to go to the other side of the stream. His goal at the moment was to go to the top of the platform and see what lay at the top or at the other side, in case there was more to this place. Once at the foot of the steps, he took a deep breath and began walking up. It was tiring for his 7-year-old body, as he wasn't accustomed to doing such things. When he reached the top, Naruto's eyes widened at the thing that stood before him. It was the statue of some sort of dog. It was white with a black underbelly, golden hooves, a gold jewel-like thing on its forehead, a large ring around its midsection with 4 green gems. All in all, it was the most fascinating thing he had ever laid his eyes upon. As he looked at it more closely, he spotted something at the foot of the statue, a small altar. On it laid 5 dull gray-colored rectangular plates of some sort. It was then that his curiosity got the best of him as he walked to the altar and gazed upon the plates more closely. Wanting to feel the texture of the plates, the 7-year-old used his right hand to reach up to stroke them, but as soon as his fingers made contact with one, all 5 began to glow brightly. A burning light shot out the plates and hit Naruto in the chest, sending him to the ground. Quickly the blonde lost conscious. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto groggily opened his eyes as he felt a sharp jolt of pain in his brain. Rubbing his head, the 7-year-old blonde stood up only to find himself in a strange place. It was some kind of large temple. Several large pillars were on each side. Clouds could be seen in the far end. Naruto was awed at the sight, and then he spotted a staircase that led upwards. Hoping to see some more amazing sights, the boy walked over to the foot of the stairs and made his way up. The more he walked, the cooler everything seemed to him. Soon he arrived at a large platform where he spotted large pillars like the ones he had seen in the lower area. Then at the far end was a large wall with a white gem in the middle surrounded by 5 dull gray plates he had seen earlier and 11 empty slots with the same size of the plates. At this point he was confused. What were those plates doing here? More importantly, where the hell was he at? "Welcome, young one," a voice suddenly spoke up. Naruto looked around trying to find the source of the voice. "Who's there?" A white orb of light appeared in front of Naruto, making him jump back. The orb soon started to expand and grow bigger. With a flash, Naruto was facing the same creature he had seen in the cave. "My name is Arceus," the creature spoke. "What are you? Are you some kind of summoned beast or something?" Naruto asked, trying to not show that he was frightened. "And where am I?" "I am no summon as you call them. I am an ancient creature that once roamed the earth as you do now. I was called a Pokemon. Creatures that were born before the Rikudo Sennin," Arceus said. "As to where we are in your mind. My mind looks like some sort of temple. And you said creatures as in more than one. Are there more of you?" Naruto said. "At one point yes, but now no more. You see, a group of people sought to conquer the world and they used my children to do their evil doings. I, along with the help of others, used our powers to seal the powers and abilities of the other Pokemon in the plates that you see on the wall," Arceus said. "Although it would seem that throughout time the plates separated, you have absorbed 5 of them. There are still 11 remaining." "You mean that those plates have some sort of special power?" the blonde asked. "Yes, each plates hold the power of the 16 different types of Pokemon that existed. The white orb in the middle hold the powers of what we called normal abilities that are not affiliated with any element," the Pokemon explained. "So what you're trying to say is that every one of those plates has the knowledge of each Pokemon attack and ability," Naruto said. "Yes, in each plate the attacks of every Pokemon are sealed inside. As you grow, more attacks will become available," Arceus said. "As I grow?" the blonde asked, slightly confused at what he'd been told. "Yes, I have chosen you to continue my legacy as the new master of the plates," the giant Pokemon informed the blonde. "Me?" Naruto said. "Why? When you first touched the plates I read your mind, and to say the least I was stunned. I have seen humans behave as such, throwing one child aside in favor of another," the Pokemon said. "I don't have much time left. Just know that when you wake up, knowledge of some Pokemon attacks will be in your mind. Train hard and you will get stronger. The stronger you get, the more attacks that you will learn. Each time you unlock a new attack, knowledge of how to use will automatically be revealed." "But won't the attacks require chakra?" Naruto asked. "No, the attacks required no chakra. They are the power that came before the birth chakra. These attacks put jutsus to shame. And the attacks are so strong that jutsus could only do so much as to slow them down," Arceus chuckled. "But, let me warn you, the plates will not trust you with their power. You must earn it. However, I will do this for you. I will unlock the 5 that you have at the moment." Arceus walked over to the wall that held the plates. The plates began to glow, and soon they began to turn into their color. The plates' colors were red, green, sky blue, yellow, and ocean blue. Naruto's eyes widened as information about attacks was suddenly engraved in his mind. The Pokemon god just looked at the blonde as the information on the attacks entered his mind. "What was that?" Naruto asked. "That was the knowledge of the plates. Now let me explain what each of these plates are called. The red one is the flame plate. The green one is the meadow plate. The yellow one is the zap plate. The dark blue one is the splash plate. The light blue one is the sky plate. Each of the plates represent an element like I told you. Here we have the elements of fire, grass, water, electric, and flying," Arceus said. "Now if you wish to become stronger, then you must locate the rest of them. The ones that remain to be found are the ones that represent ground, rock, dark, bug, ghost, poison, ice, fighting, psychic, steel, and dragon." "I will, and thank you," Naruto said. "One last thing, make sure you take some of the berries in the field. They will help you. Not only do they feed your hunger, each has a special effect, from healing to curing paralysis, poison, and burns," Arceus said. There should also be a bag somewhere in there. I will, and thanks again, the boy said. Good luck, boy, you're going to need it, Arceus thought as he watched the blonde disappear. Real world. Naruto opened his eyes and jumped straight to his feet only to fall back on his ass as a massive amount of information was sent through his brain. After 5 minutes passed, he felt the pain recede. This allowed him to stand up normally. At once he could feel that his body felt different. He also began to wonder if what Arceus told him was true and if it hadn't really been a dream. Wanting to know if it was real or not, he tried to draw the power of the plates. He pointed his hand out to see if anything happened and concentrated on an attack that was called Thunder Shock. Nothing happened at first. Just as he was about to pass all this as a dream, his hand began to spark yellow, then a small bolt of lightning shot out, leaving a stupefied blonde staring at the rock that was hit, a smirk plastered on his face. By the time Naruto returned to the village, the sun had risen up. On his hip he had a sort of belt with different size pouches. Each of the pouches had an assortment of berries that he had picked from the field in that underground cave. Walking, he could see people getting their shops ready for the day. Although that didn't even matter to him, he needed to get home. When he got to the house, he saw that his parents and his sister were already training. She at moment was wearing what seemed to be a white gi and purple shorts. Shaking his head, he headed inside the house and went up to his room. He was damn sure that they hadn't noticed his absence. However, he didn't see that someone had noticed his arrival. His sister, Naomi, had stopped from her exercises and saw him looking at them. She didn't say anything, she just gazed back at her parents with a sad look on her face. Naruto had finally reached his room, and the first thing he did was grab his backpack from its hiding place. Tonight was the night. He would leave to get stronger, and to do that he would have to collect the remaining 11 plates. Once he was done with the last of his packing, Naruto left his room. The one thing he needed to do now was go to the closest training ground to get used to his new powers. When he left the house, he never saw that his parents were just finishing Naomi's training. Kushina, who had turned to head back to the house, saw Naruto run out of the house and wondered what was with him. Minato saw her glancing at the compound gates just as his son left. One thing went through his head: he didn't bother them this morning for some training. A smile came to his face. He was finally realizing that he could never be a shinobi. Naruto arrived at the training ground, scanning to make sure that there was no one nearby to see him train. Taking a deep, he concentrated in calling forth the Zap Plate's power. It took a few seconds, but his right hand began to spark with small yellow bolts of electricity. The blonde looked to see if there was anything he could try this attack on. Only one thing was near, and that was a small blue bird perched on a tree branch above him. Pointing his hand towards the bird, he released a small wave of lightning that hit the bird, sending it to the ground. The bird was trying to get back up, but small jolts of electricity would surge around its body. Huh? I guess that wasn't thunder shock, Naruto said as he closed his eyes to try and find out what the attack was. Going into the memories of the Zap Plate, he found what he was looking for. So it was a thunder wave, a status type attack that will paralyze my opponent for a set amount of time. Naruto smiled. Now he knew 2 attacks that were locked in the Zap Plate. All he now had to do was find out how to call forth the right one. Calling forth the power of the plate again, his hand once again began to spark. This time he pointed at the tree and released the blast of electricity. Again it was a thunder wave. Naruto thought that maybe he was doing this wrong. How he wished Arceus had told him how to use the attacks. Sighing, he tried again, and again it was the same attack. By the 10th time, Naruto was getting frustrated. Thunder shock, damn it, Naruto shouted, pointing 2 fingers at the tree. This time a yellow ball formed in his fingers and fired a bolt of yellow lightning. It was at this time that the bird he hit earlier with the thunder wave recovered and flew. The bird flew right in the path of the attack. The thunder shock struck the bird in the wing. It engulfed the bird, forcing it to chirp out in pain before exploding in a shower of feathers and blood. Oops, Naruto said. That had not been what he wanted. Sure, he hit the bird earlier, but it was basically a non-lethal attack. Now he wondered what it would do to a larger target like a deer, or more importantly a human. After the small bird incident, Naruto began to work on his control. He pointed his hand out and the small of electricity left it. When he pointed, 2 fingers put together, he fired the small lightning bolt. Even after he thought that he had them down, Naruto kept on practicing because, like everyone says, practice makes perfection. It was an hour after he began his practice that he found out what the ability of the zap plate was, and to tell the truth it wasn't pretty. When he went to fire another thundershock, this time at the river that was next to the field, his body suddenly began to glow yellow. That was when he saw that his attack turned back around and came right at him. The thundershock hit his chest, sending him to the ground. The only movement he did was the occasional leg twitch. Naruto knew one thing, and that was that he was paralyzed for the time being. Now he knew how that bird felt when he hit it with his thunder wave. Luckily for him, he had the remedy to his problem if he could reach it. He let his eyes wander around, only to let out a groan as he saw that his belt was over 10 feet away. Now he wondered why the hell he took it off. He was unable to reach it, so his berries were useless at the moment. So the only thing he had left to do was waiting for the status effect to pass. As he waited, a wave of information hit his brain. It seemed that the ability he unlocked from the plate was known as Lightning Rod, and it drew all lightning-based attacks to him. He cursed such a useless ability. How is that going to help him in the long run? Another amount of information him then. There was another ability that went in conjunction with it, but it was still locked away. "Are you alright?" he heard someone ask. Naruto looked up from his place on the ground to see a young girl around his age, maybe a year older, staring at him. She had brown hair tied in 2 buns and deep chocolate brown eyes. She wore a white Chinese blouse and brown pants. Overall, she looked like a cute panda. "Yeah," Naruto responded, just looking at the clouds. The girl looked up to the sky as sweat dropped. There wasn't a single cloud in the sky at the moment. "Really now, I don't see a single cloud floating by," the girl answered back. They already passed," Naruto said. "Sure, whatever. There hasn't been a single cloud all morning long," the brunette said to him. "Damn, come on, think Naruto. Wait, that's it," the blonde thought as he said. "I guess I just got lost on the road to life then." The girl face faulted at the strange answer she got out the blonde. "What kind of response is that?" "Okay, then why don't you just get up?" she asked. "It's too damn troublesome to do so," Naruto said, hoping to get her off his case. The girl frowned. This boy was hiding something under his body if he didn't want to get up, but what could it be? "I see, then you won't mind if I help you then?" she asked as she reached to grab him. Naruto began to sweat as he saw the girl's hand get closer to his body. And as if Kami or Arceus would hate him as soon as her hand made contact with his hand, his body decided to spark. The girl was taken by surprise that she had not time to take her hand back and ended up getting shock. Naruto stared at the girl as she fell on her butt from the small shock. He knew it wasn't strong to paralyze her. All he was trying to do now was not to laugh at her. The girl rubbed her head as she glared at the blonde, but opted a confused look on her face instead. It seemed like he was trying to not laugh for some reason. His eyes followed the place he was looking at and saw that he was looking at her hair. Using her hand, she reached up to touch it when she felt her buns were gone. Her hair seemed spiky. She stood up from her place and ran to the river and looked at her reflection. What she saw made her have only one reaction: she screamed. By now Naruto couldn't help it. He burst out laughing, and he laughed so hard that it was painful, especially in his state. The girl's hair was spiked up and was also glittering from the small shock he gave her. She, on the other hand, turned around slowly and glared at him. Out of nowhere she pulled out a small black knife, a kunai to be exact. It was only when Naruto saw the kunai in her hand that his laughing stopped and he struggled to move. His eyes were wide when he was her right next to him. "Hey, come on now, I didn't mean it," Naruto said nervously. "Yeah right," the girl said back to him. "You did it on purpose to scare me away, to keep this training ground to yourself." "No, wait, I can explain," pleaded the blonde. "Then start talking then," came the answer. "I'm paralyzed," he responded. The girl lowered her kunai for a second, then raised it back up. "Sure, whatever," she said. "I can show you." Naruto kept on pleading as he was completely defenseless at the moment. "Fine, show me," she agreed without lowering her knife. "Okay. First, do you see that belt with the pouches at least 10 feet away?" Naruto asked. The girl nodded as she indeed see the strange belt. "Then go over to it. Open the pouch with the number 1. Inside it are some small red berries. Grab one and feed it to me." "You want me to feed you, lazy bastard?" the girl yelled. "It's not what you think. I told you I'm paralyzed and the berry will cure me. Then I will be able to show you how I got paralyzed," the blue-eyed boy said. "Fine," she growled out as she stomped towards the belt. Once there, she opened the one label 1. Inside were berries like the boy said. They were small red ones. She grabbed one and looked at it curiously. She had never seen anything like it, but she shrugged and took it to the boy. She tossed it into his mouth. With the berry on his mouth, Naruto began to chew it. He could feel the juice from it removing the thundershock's effect. Once he swallowed it, the paralysis was gone. Naruto jumped to his feet. The girl stared at him, and he had been telling the truth about the berries. They did heal him. The blonde then pointed his hand at her, making her put her finger on her lower lip in curiosity, making her look even cuter. This made Naruto's cheeks turn a light pink in color. "Thunder wave," Naruto said as the small wave of lightning erupted from his hand. The girl had no time to react as she was hit hard, making her fall once again. She tried to get up, but her body wouldn't respond. "What the hell did you do to me? I can't move," the brown head said. "I told you I was going to show you," Naruto said, although he was hit by a thundershock instead of the thunder wave, which was more painful. He went over to his belt and pulled out a cherry berry out. The blonde then came over to where the girl laid and popped the berry into her mouth. She growled before beginning to chew it. Once she had swallowed, she felt movement to her limbs return. "Okay, I have to wonder how you hit yourself with something like that," she said as she stood up. "I didn't mean to. My special ability draws in all lighting-based attacks when activated," Naruto explained. "Good thing I learned to will it off, or else both of us would be on the ground unable to move." "That's good," the girl said. "I never introduced myself, did I?" "Well, my name is Tenten. What's yours?" "Naruto," the blonde responded. "So what were you doing out here?" Tenten asked. "Training," Naruto said. "Really, I came here to do the same thing, although I use weapons primarily," the girl told him with a smile. "That's cool. I have been meaning to ask, what's with the bloody feathers?" Tenten asked. Naruto looked at the place where the remains of the bird laid and sweat dropped. "You don't want to know." Tenten let the subject drop. Instead, she just watched as he went over to the belt and picked it up. Once he had it on, he walked back to her. The two started to talk to each other about what they wanted to do when they were older. Tenten told him about how she wanted to follow in the footsteps of her idol, Tsunade. Naruto clenched his fist at the name, which went unnoticed by Tenten. Naruto told her how he wanted to grow up and be a strong shinobi. The two enjoyed the day together. Naruto showed her what else he knew to do at the moment. Tenten volunteered to help him out a little with her limited weapons training. Thankfully, he had those Oran berries because he got hit by quite a few senbons. At the end, Naruto had managed to learn how to access his quick attack, which surprised the girl. When the two were done, Naruto wiped some of the sweat off, turned to look at the brunette. "Well, Tenten, it was nice meeting you," Naruto said as he walked away. "Huh? You're leaving already?" Tenten asked. "Yep," Naruto said. "We'll see you later then, Tenten-chan." "Okay, see you tomorrow, Naruto-kun," called out the girl. Naruto turned and gave her a smile before walking away. "I'm sorry, Tenten-chan," Naruto thought sadly. Later that night, Naruto sneaked into his parents' armory where they kept all of their weapons. Once he was inside, he began to look around for something that would be useful for his journey. There were so many different items that he had no idea where to start. There kunais, shurinkens, senbon, wire, swords, and many other things. Naruto looked on the desk at the far end of the room and saw a small stack of paper bombs, but not like the ones that were sold at the shops. These were of the highest quality since they were made by a true seals master. Smiling, he took the stack, placing them into his backpack. Now he had to find more things. He went to the shelf and began to grab a few kunais, shurinkens, wire rolls, and a single tanto. Just as he was about to leave, he saw a box on the bottom shelf covered in dust. Going for it, he opened it. Inside was a set of 10 beautiful knives. These had a cream-colored grip. The blades were black and silver with the length of 7 inches. This brought a smile to his face as he covered the box back up, then moved it to his backpack. Now he had everything. Naruto quickly got out and locked the door before he began walking down the path to the house's gate. He took one last look at the house before he left. It was around midnight already and there were hardly any people out, so he had no trouble while heading out. But when he saw the gates, he stopped. There was one last thing he had to do before he left. Naruto walked back to the training ground where he had spent the day with the first friend he had ever made in his 7 years of life. Reaching into his bag, he pulled out the stack of paper bombs and laid them at the root of the tree along with a letter for Tenten. This was it, now everything was done. Naruto turned his back and began to walk away. No one saw him as he disappeared into the woods. After walking for about half an hour, Naruto arrived at a cave entrance, the same one he had used that morning to leave the underground cave. At the moment he needed to get in and out as fast as he could. The reason as to why he came, he used most of his healing berries that day. The blonde walked through the cave and soon came to the place where the secret entrance to the underground cave was. Going down, he walked for about another hour before he came to the large field of berry trees. Naruto used his quick attack to move faster to the trees. Using the speed attack, he managed to refill his pouches with new berries. Now all he had left to do was sleep and leave early in the morning. As soon as he had a bed made, he lies down and fell asleep. By the time he woke up, Naruto picked up all of his belongings and made his way out of the cave. It took him only 45 minutes to exit the cave as he could see better where he was going. When he got out, he saw the sun had risen over the horizon. It was over at last. He would no longer be the odd one out. No longer would he have to suffer at the hands of his parents. The only thing he was sorry about was meeting Tenten just as he was going to leave, but he had made up his mind and there was no turning back. Naruto looked back in the direction of the village and walked away in the other direction without sparing the village a second glance. In Konoha, Tenten woke up bright and early. Today she was going to go back to the training ground and hope that Naruto would show up. Sure, they got off to a rocky start, but in the end they managed to get along. And those cool abilities of his made it even more fun to train with. When she had gotten home the day before, she told her mother about him and she was happy that she had made a friend. She quickly got dressed and left her room, running downstairs where her mother was just finishing making their breakfast. "You're up quite early today, Ten-chan," her mother said. "Could it be because you want to meet with a special someone?" "Okawa-san," Tenten said with a blush on her face. "I'm still too young to be thinking about those things." Era, you were quite happy when you were telling me about him yesterday," Tenten's mother said, "and here I thought that I would have a son-in-law soon." "Ah, I just want him to help me with my training," the brunette said with anime tears. After eating her breakfast, the 8-year-old girl ran as fast as she could to the training ground. When she arrived there, she saw that no one was there yet, so she pulled out a few kunais from her pouch to get some warm-up exercises. As Tenten was about to throw the first one, she saw something on the foot of the tree where she first saw Naruto. Walking over to the tree, the brunette saw a small stack of paper bombs. Along with them was a letter. The odd thing was that it was addressed to her. Tenten picked up the letter and tore the seal off and read, "Tenten, if you're reading this, then I have already left the village. I'm sorry. I was happy to have made a friend and will always cherish our friendship, even if it was only for a single day. I know that you like weapons, so I left you a small stack of paper bombs that were made by none other than the Hokage himself. Again, I'm sorry and goodbye. Naruto Namikaze." Tenten read the letter again and again. She couldn't believe that the one friend she manages to make and not think of her as weird left the village on the same day she meet him. Another thing was that her friend had been none other than the son on the Yondaime. Something clicked in her mind then. She had seen he before, now that she actually thought about it. It had been that day that the Namikaze family walked through the village, but that day she had only seen the Hokage, his wife, and daughter. Then she saw him, the little boy, walking about 20 feet behind them with a sad expression on his face. How could she not have seen it before? He was unhappy with his family. She had to know more now, and the only person she could talk to was her mother. Picking up the bombs, she ran home. Naruto. The blonde was just entering the first town that he came across. It wasn't that big, but there was no one that would recognize him. Now he had to leave fast if he wanted to get to Tanzaku-gai by that afternoon. So he made his way through the village, trying to not draw attention to himself. But like he said, Kami hates him when a group of 6 kids who seemed to be twice his age surrounded him. "Well, look at what we have here, boys," the taller one of the group, who looked to be actually 2 years older than the rest, said. "A little boy who seems to have some things of value on him." The other boys laughed, but Naruto didn't find it funny. "Please move aside, I do not want any trouble," he said. Hear that he doesn't want any trouble, the same boy said. "Too bad for you, because we aren't letting you leave with that backpack or belt. We could get a good price for them." "Move," Naruto repeated as he looked around and saw that some of the adults were just staring with grins on their faces. Now he knew why not many people came here. This town was made up of mostly gangs. "Now why don't we show you what we do with little boys like you?" Naruto was told by the tall boy as he pulled out a knife. Naruto sighed. He knew that this was bound to happen. So using his quick attack he moved back, shocking those around him. The next thing he did was draw upon the sky plate like he had been practicing since he left the cave. Gust! Naruto shouted as a large cyclone formed, heading straight for the boys. The boys, seeing this, moved out of the way except for 4 who had caught in the attack, sending them into the wall of the houses. All 4 were instantly knocked out. The leader glanced at Naruto and was terrified. How someone so young could be able to strong? Could he be a shinobi? Whatever he was, he didn't care. He rid himself of his fear and ran at Naruto. Naruto raised 2 fingers put together and drew the power of the zap plate, Thundershock. A bolt of lightning shot out a small yellow ball that was formed on his fingertips. The kid took the full blast of the attack, sending flying back with a large scorch mark on his chest. I did tell you to move, Naruto said as he glanced at the single boy that was still standing. Don't hurt me, I was only following Derek, he said. Just get out of here, the blonde said. The boy nodded and left running. Naruto could see the people around him moving away. Some had murderous looks on their faces. He had to get out of here now or else he would come out really hurt. Shrugging, he kept on walking. Some of the older men nodded to others and slowly followed the blonde out of the village. Unknown to them, up on the rooftop of a small building, another person had witnessed the fight and now he had a smirk on his face. He turned to his smaller companion whose eyes were still following the boy. Come, he said, moving from his spot to follow the brat. Naruto was well aware that he was being followed and that worried him. Sure, he could handle a few kids older than him, but that was because they underestimated him. He knew that he would have to face them soon or he would be in trouble. The blonde began to gather the power of the flame plate. He had done it only once and that was unconsciously, and was hoping that his training with the zap plate would help him. He could feel the burning sensation of the plate's power in his stomach. The men who were following Naruto were getting ready to capture him. This boy could fetch them a nice price in the black market, or if they sold him to a hidden village like Kumogakure. Just as the leader was going to signal the attack, Naruto turned around and released a cloud of red embers. The fire attack hit 2, but the other 2 were far back to prevent the attack from hitting them. Shit, what is this kid? He can use both lightning and fire jutsus, the one who dodged the attack said. I'm sure that Kumo would pay a hefty price for him, his partner said as he watched the other 2 roll on the ground holding their faces in pain. Naruto was about to call on the power of the zap plate again, but he felt something grab his legs. His eyes darted to the ground to see one of the men he had taken down with the ember earlier. His face was burned with at least second-degree burns. It was this small distraction that cost him as a fist hit him across the face, making him kiss the dirt. The blonde turned to see the other 2 smirking victoriously, gritting his teeth in anger. He began to draw upon the power of the plates. The 2 men backed away when they saw that his hair began to glow as if it was drawing energy. Naruto stood up from his place, his hair glowing brightly. The 2 men who had been burned had stood up as well. All 4 of them were afraid. With the blonde's hair glow intensified, he pointed both palms towards them and with a scream a large golden and white beam shot out. The 4 were engulfed in the powerful beam of light that blasted them away. When the attack died down, Naruto saw them all lying on the ground. Trees had fallen around them and on them. Naruto backed away, his eyes wide in shock. He had killed them, but he hadn't meant to kill them, and what was that weird feeling he got? Damn Gaki, you sure went overboard, didn't you? A voice from behind him said. The blonde turned his head and back away. Behind him stood a tall man. He had pale skin, short spiky black hair, and brown eyes. He wore a gray flak jacket, the bottom portion of his face was wrapped in white bandages, and black cargo pants. On his back he had a giant butcher-like sword. Who are you? Naruto asked. Name's Zabuza Momochi, the man responded. What do you want? The blonde asked. He was scared. This guy had an aura of death. What were those powers of yours? I know they weren't any sort of ninjutsu as I felt no chakra coming from them. Not only that, but I can't feel a single ounce of chakra coming off you, Zabuza said. They're special powers that I got, was the answer the swordsman received. How? Zabuza was anxious to find out how the Gaki got those powers. They didn't seem to need any chakra, and that could come in handy against the Mizukage. Naruto was in a conflict. How was he going to explain this? He couldn't lie to this man as he could kill him in the blink of an eye. I got them from a set of special plates, Naruto answered. Plates? Zabuza repeated. Yeah, they were this dull gray color, then they turned into different colors giving me powers, the blonde continued. Hold a second, plates, you mean like this, the man said as he reached into his ninja pouch and pulled out two dull gray colored plates. Naruto's eyes widened at the sight of two of the missing 11 plates. How had he found them when he had no idea how to find them? Where did you find them? Naruto asked. In the land of water, deep within a cave that I used to hide once, came the response. Now tell me more about them. He thought about it for a moment. Maybe if he told him about the plates he could get those two from him. Fine, but let's go somewhere else, Naruto said. Follow me, we'll go meet up with my associate, Zabuza says as he began to walk away. Naruto went right behind him. Yoshida Suzuki couldn't believe what he had just seen and learned from the little time he had spent at the bar in Tori no Kuni. He had stopped there for a quick drink after completing his mission of transporting a scroll to the local daimyo for a hopeful trade agreement. He had been told that he, the daimyo, would personally be going to Konohagakure to talk to the Yondaime Hokage. After that he decided to stop at the local bar to get himself a drink before heading back, not knowing what awaited him inside. As soon as he stepped into the bar he went and ordered a drink, however as he drank something caught his attention from the corner of his eye. Something that almost made him spit out his drink. There, sitting in the far corner of the bar with a plate of dango in front of him, sat the one person that the village had been searching for. Spiky blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. He knew that he had just found the missing son of the Yondaime. Then he noticed something, or rather someone. The person who the blonde was sharing a table with stood up and went to the bartender. Yoshida started to panic as he saw one of the most notorious criminals of Kirigakure, Momochi Zabuza, a former member of the Seven Swordmen of the Mist. After watching the rogue swordsman go back to his seat, Yoshida downed the rest of his drink and dropped a few coins on the counter. He then left the bar as fast as he could, trying not to draw attention to himself. He knew that he had to get away as fast as possible and report to his Hokage. As soon as he was out of the village he quickly took to the trees and began running towards the Leaf Village. However, today luck was not on his side. Just minutes after having been running he heard the distinct sound of rustling leaves. Stopping for a moment he began looking around. Someone was following him, he knew as much. But as he waited and listened no one appeared and no more sounds could be heard. Just as he was about to keep going he felt something wrapped around his ankle. Looking down, Yoshida saw two green vine things around his ankle. Suddenly he felt the vines get pulled. To his shock the pull was strong enough that he was pulled hard right through the trees. Screaming as he was pulled through the foliage, the leaf ninja was then lifted high into the air before he was brought back down, slamming into the ground, hard. Coughing he tried to get back up, but the pain his body was in at the moment made it unbearable to even move. Well, look at what we have here, said a male voice coming from the trees. Yoshida felt the vines leave his ankle as watched them go into the trees just as the silhouette form of a person began to appear. As the person got closer he saw the vines going into the man's sleeves. Using as much strength as he could the ninja managed to sit up as he finally saw who had been following him. His eyes widened when he saw the familiar blind hair and blue eyes of the boy he had seen at the bar. Namikaze Naruto, Yoshida said as he held his aching shoulder. Don't call me by that filthy name, the blonde said. I am no longer the son of that bastard. Don't you insult our Hokage, said the leaf ninja. He's been looking for you these past 8 years. Yoshida suddenly stopped talking as he felt a horrible pain in his chest. Looking down he saw a blade going through. His eyes then went up and saw the cold blue eyes of the blonde Namikaze. Blood began coming from his mouth as he saw the blade get pulled out. Yoshida fell forward onto the cold ground as blood began to pool around him. The last thing he saw was the arrival of 2 other people. Looks like you were right, Naruto said. Naruto-kun, said the female of their group. Don't worry about Haku-chan. Let's us just get out of here, Naruto said. We need to get to Nami no Kuni to meet our client. With that the group walked away, leaving the body of the leaf ninja to the wild animals. Konohagakure. Namikaze Minato sat behind his desk going through some paperwork. He was getting worried about one of his chunin that had gone on a mission to Tori no Kuni. It had been 2 weeks since he had left and he had heard anything from him. Not only that, but also the daimyo of Tori had just left 2 days ago after coming to finalize the trade agreement. That had made him send a group of his tracker ninjas to see what they could find out, and they were due at any moment. Sighing, he also had another issue at hand. Just a couple of hours ago, He had received a request for backup from his last student. Apparently their client had lied about the mission he was requesting, and now it had been upgraded to a B-rank mission with the possibility of going to A, so he had no choice but to call in the only available team he had at the moment, and they were due at any moment now. Hearing a knock on his door, he looked up from his work as he saw the team he was waiting for. Walking into the office was none other than his wife Uzumaki Kushina and his beloved daughter. Over the past 8 years, Naomi had truly grown into a beautiful young woman. Her hair had gotten longer that it tied in a single ponytail. Her outfit consisted of a long black scarf with red butterflies across it, topped off with black gloves. She wears a dark red hakama with a miniskirt. Her legs are complemented by her black leggings. Also on her right leg she has a kunai pouch. However, her weapon of choice was something that neither he nor Kushina ever thought of, a naginata. "Well, Minato-kun, what did you call us for?" asked Kushina. "I just got a request for backup and I'm sending the two of you," Minato responded. "Who are we backing up to, San?" his daughter asked. "Team 7, the blonde Hokage said. Apparently the client did not give all the information about the mission and it turned into B-rank mission as soon as they faced the demon brothers of Kirigakure. If the client lied, why did Kakashi continue on with the mission? He should have turned back," Kushina said. As it turns out, his team said that they wanted to continue the mission, and since all three agree, he decided to keep going with the condition to ask for backup, he answered. "Tisk, it was probably Sasuke's idea to continue. I swear that ass is gonna get his team killed one day," Naomi said. "Be as it is, I need you to go and back them up. This mission has the potential to increase to an A rank," said Minato, sighing, knowing the hatred his daughter had for the Uchiha. "Fine, we'll go and save his sorry ass," Naomi grumbled. "Also, Minato have gotten any more leads?" asked Kushina quietly. Naomi looked at her mother, then at her father, who had a sad smile on his face as he shook his head, letting them know that he hadn't. "I see," the redhead mumbled. "Anyways, Naomi, let's get going." As the two redheads walk out of the office, Minato couldn't help but look at the only picture he had of his full family. It was the only one that actually included his missing son. "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun," he whispered sadly. Minato only knew that he was the one to blame for the disappearance of his son. He had pushed him aside when Tsunade has informed him of his condition. He had wanted to be able to have so many father-son moments, however, learning that his son had no chakra shattered his hopes. Naomi and Kushina. As Naomi and her mother headed to the village gates, she couldn't help but wonder where her brother had gone to and if he was okay. After his departure, she had reflected back on her life, and what she remembered made her sick. She had been a total bitch to her brother when they learned that he couldn't be a shinobi. She would rub it in his face how she was getting all the cool ninja training and that she would be the one to lead their small clan, while he was nothing but a disgrace to the family name. And now she regretted having said all that to him. She never knew how much it would hurt her when he left. "Oni-sama, I want to see you again so I can tell you how sorry I am and how much I truly love you," Naomi said to herself. "Omi-chan, come on, we have to get to Kakashi quickly," Kushina called out to her daughter. When Kushina saw the look on her daughter's face, she knew that she was thinking about her brother. Team Zabuza. Naruto watched as Zabuza was currently giving the two dumbasses known as the Demon Brothers a beating on how stupid they had been. Not only had Zabuza told them to scout out their target and report to him as to who was going to be guarding him, but the dumbasses went ahead and tried to kill the target only to be stopped by genin of all ranks. And now the ninjas guarding the old bridge builder were expecting to be attacked again. Not only that, but there was a high chance that they had called for backup. "Well, did you two at least recognize who was protecting the bridge builder?" asked Zabuza. The two brothers looked at each other, then at Zabuza. It was Kakashi Hitaki. Naruto's eyes widened when he heard the name of his bastard father's only living student. His hand clenched into fist as he stood up and grabbed his cloak that was on chair he was sitting on. This mission had just gotten a little more complicated if that copycat was involved. However, he knew that between Zabuza and him it would be no problem. "Naruto-kun," Haku whispered as she saw him get angry. "Well, at least we know who to expect," Zabuza said as he went to retrieve his sword. "Haku, Naruto, we're going now." As they were about to leave their current hideout, Zabuza turned to look at the brother who seemed ready to accompany them. "You are staying here, Team Kakashi." Kakashi was not having a good day. First he took his team to get a mission for the day, While there he had the urge to smack the Uchiha when he heard him demand a higher-level mission from the Hokage. Of course, just when he was about to say something, his female student just had to go and open her mouth and agree that they need a higher-level mission. His last student just looked like he was about to fall asleep and didn't care. Knowing that he wouldn't be able to get the Uchiha and his fangirl to shut up, he decided to get a C-rank mission. It was supposed to be an easy mission that required them to escort a bridge builder home and protect him from bandits and wild animals. But what happens, just hours after leaving the village they were attacked by two missing ninjas from Kirigakure. The famed demon brothers, who had been hiding in a puddle in the middle of a cloudless day. He of course just used the Kawarimi no Jutsu to get out of their chains and watched from the trees to see who their target was. He was surprised when they went after the bridge builder Tazuna, however his team managed to get over the shock of his death and defended the client. Well, more like Sasuke and Shikamaru defended the client while Sakura just froze in her place. After he stepped in and incapacitated the rogue shinobi, he interrogated Tazuna and found out about the current situation in Nami no Kuni. Tazuna told them about how a man named Gato had taken over Nami and was driving the country into the dirt, and that the only way of survival was his bridge. Kakashi was ready to abandon the mission and return to Konoha, but just his luck Sasuke said to continue the mission. Of course Sakura quickly agreed with him, again. Shikamaru of course shocked him when he too agreed, but made a point to him by telling to send a request for backup to the Hokage. Knowing that he was outvoted, he did just that. He sent his sensei a message and informed his team that the mission was now a B rank. Sasuke smirked, while Sakura paled a bit, though all that changed when he told them that there was a chance that the mission could go higher if they encountered more shinobi. So now here he was after crossing the waters into Nami. Kakashi was on high alert in case they were attacked again. Shikamaru, who had taken up the rearguard, was also on high alert for anything. Tazuna, who was walking in the middle, was looking rather nervous. Suddenly out nowhere a whooshing sound was heard. "Get down, hit the dirt!" shouted both Kakashi and Shikamaru at the same time. Kakashi grabbed Sasuke and Tazuna, pulling them to the ground, while Shikamaru did the same with a shocked Sakura. Whoosh 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 thunk. The group looked up to see a large Zanbatsu stuck in a tree with a man standing on top of it. Said man was shirtless, with two cameo-style armbands and pants. His face was half covered in bandages up to his nose, and his headband was tilted slightly like Kakashi's, except not covering his eyes, holding up spiky black hair. The symbol of Kiri displayed on the headband with a slash mark running across the center. Well, if it isn't Hitaki Kakashi," the man said, in rough-sounding voice. Kakashi stood up and glared at the man. "Momoichi Zabuza, the Kiri no Oni. I never would have expected someone like you to be working for the likes Gato." Zabuza shrugged. "It helps pay the bills, however it's all worth it if I get to fight an opponent like you. You know, back when I was in Kiri, you were listed as an A-rank shinobi with a kill on sight order in the bingo book." Hitaki Kakashi, the man who copied over 1,000 jutsu. I had no idea that Kakashi-sensei was that famous, Sakura thought. Now that the pleasantries are out of the way, why don't you hand over the old man and I'll let you and your genin squad go, Zabuza suggested. I'm sorry, but you know we can't do that. Kakashi glared at the rogue ninja. It wouldn't look very good for Konoha if we just let you have him without even putting up a fight. Zabuza sighed. Don't say I didn't try diplomacy first. Grabbing onto the hilt of his blade, Zabuza kicked off the tree. He landed on the surface of lake a little ways away, and made a hand sign. Let's see how well you can do Kakashi, Kirigakure no Jutsu. A thick mist spread across the land, blanketing the already misted area so heavily that no one could see more than a few feet in front of them. Defensive formation U3. Kakashi ordered his genin squad, causing them to surround Tazuna in a frontal triangle formation with Sasuke at the point, Shikamaru on the left and Sakura on the right. Zabuza is a master of the Muon Satsujin Jutsu. If you're not careful you'll be dead before you even know it. Protect the bridge builder and leave Zabuza to me, said Kakashi as he turned back towards the lake and began to lift up his headband. It looks like I'm going to need this. Ah, the Sharingan, Zabuza voice came from within the mist, his outlined form barely even visible. It's quite an honor to be facing it so soon. How did Kakashi-sensei get that? Sasuke thought in shock. Only members of the Uchiha clan, my clan, can have the Sharingan, could he? If Kakashi-sensei is using the Sharingan, then this guy must be a strong opponent, Shikamaru thought to himself. Still, we both know that the Sharingan is useless if you can't even see. The mist began to thicken even more, making Zabuza disappear completely. Shit, this mist cuts down the Sharingan's effectiveness, Kakashi cursed, trying to peer into the mist. 8 points, came the disembodied voice of Zabuza, causing the 3 genin and Tazuna to freeze as an intense killing intent filled the air. The liver, lungs, spine, clavicle vein, jugular artery, brain, kidney and the heart. Now, which one shall I choose first? Shit, Shikamaru cursed. This killing intent is unreal, and it makes it even worse with this mist. I can't see and I can barely think straight. Okay, first thing is first, I need to calm down. Taking a deep breath, Shikamaru pushed out his chakra to try and counter the killing intense effects like his father told him to do. He instantly felt a little better, though it was still affecting him some. This killing intent, Sasuke thought, struggling to breathe against the killing intent the 2 Jonin were producing. Is this what a high-level battle between 2 Jonin is like? This suffocating feeling, Sasuke began bringing a kunai to his throat. I don't think I can handle much more of it. Sasuke, calm down, Kakashi said as he noticed the trouble his genin were having. I won't let any of my comrades die. Sasuke seemed to calm himself down, lowering his kunai. You're all talk, Kakashi. Zabuza appeared right in the midst of the genin and Tazuna. Just as he was about to cleave them all with Kabikurihucho, Kakashi appeared right next to Zabuza and stabbed him in the gut, only for the Zabuza that he had stabbed to turn into water. Mizu Bunshin, Kakashi exclaimed right before Zabuza appeared behind him and cleaved him in half, causing Sakura to scream. However, much to Zabuza's surprise, Kakashi turned into water as well. It's over, Kakashi said as he appeared behind Zabuza and brought a kunai to the other ninja's throat. I see, Zabuza chuckled as he turned his head to look at the copy ninja. You created and switched yourself with a Mizu Bunshin when you made your speech, didn't you? That eye of yours is quite impressive. However, this battle is far from over. Zabuza swung his sword arm around, forcing Kakashi to duck under the powerful swing. Planting his sword into the ground, the mist ninja used the leverage it granted him to launch a powerful kick in Kakashi's face. Kakashi flew through the air with Zabuza following after him. The silver-haired Jonin threw some Makibishi spikes as he fell into the water, forcing Zabuza to stop. Makibishi spikes? Zabuza sneered beneath his mask. Come on, Kakashi, are you even trying? Kakashi broke the surface of the water and gasped for some air. There's something wrong with this water. Ha, now I've got you. Zabuza appeared right next to Kakashi, going through a set of hand seals, Suiru no Jutsu. Kakashi cursed as he found himself trapped within a water prison. He looked over at his students and began to make orders. Run, take the bridge builder and go. Oh, they're not going anywhere, Kakashi. Zabuza chuckled as he made a Mizu Bunshin to deal with the genin. Get out of here, Kakashi yelled at his students. This battle was over the moment I got caught. He can't seriously think we can run, does he? Sasuke wondered, even if we managed to escape now, he would just kill Kakashi and come after us. Sasuke ran towards the Mizu Bunshin in an attempt to surprise it. However, as soon as he got in range, the Zabuza clone kicked him in the ribs, sending the black-haired genin flying back. Sasuke-kun, Sakura yelled in shock and fear at seeing her crush get hit so easily. Sasuke gasped out in pain as he landed on the ground and the air was forced from his lungs. He was about to get up when Zabuza appeared next to him and stepped on him, making the raven-haired genin scream in pain as the Kiri Nuke Nin began to grind his foot into Sasuke's ribs. You kids think you're ninja? Zabuza sneered at the pathetic sight of Sasuke under his foot and screaming in pain. None of you are worthy of the title ninja. When you have stained your hands with as much blood as me, then you can be considered ninja. When you, Futon, Rinkuden. Zabuza's speech was cut off as a cannonball-sized ball of wind smashed into the Mizu Bunshin, forcing it to disperse back into water. The heads of all the genin and Tazunas turned to see who had attacked the Mizu Bunshin. The genin were shocked when they saw none other than Kushina and Naomi walking towards them. As soon as Tazuna saw the leaf headbands, he let out a sigh of relief. Naomi-san, Sakura nearly shouted. Kushina-sama, Kakashi said in with a sigh of relief of his own. Well, fuck? Zabuza said as he recognized the woman who had just arrived. Well, Kakashi-kun, you got yourself into some deep shit, Kushina said with a small smirk on her face, but don't worry, that's why we're here. Sasuke, who was getting up with some help from Sakura, clenched his fist at how pathetic he must have looked in front of Naomi. Naomi, you and the rest of the genin stay here and protect the client, Kushina ordered as she pulled out a tanto. Without waiting for an answer, Kushina began to run towards Zabuza and the imprisoned Kakashi. As Kakashi watched his sensei wife run towards with a tanto in hand, he pulled out kunai from his pouch and got ready to strike Zabuza. Zabuza watched the redhead coming to him and knew that he was trouble. He had no way of dodging her without releasing Kakashi. Once he released Kakashi and dodged the attack, the man was already ready to strike him the moment he was out. Though he didn't let that deter him, as he was ready in case something like this occurred. As Kushina was about to reach and swing her tanto, something out of the corner of her eye caught her attention, forcing her to stop and jump back. Right where she had been standing not even a second ago, a yellow bolt of lightning struck the water, creating a large splash. Kakashi got distracted from his target as he saw the attack on Kushina. Smirking, Zabuza pulled out his arm from the water prison, releasing the leaf ninja, and jumped away from him back onto the shore of the lake. Kakashi, who had fallen into the water, quickly pulled himself to the surface. Both he and Kushina then returned to the shore of the lake where Zabuza was. Both of them were still wondering where the attack came from. Well, looks like you're having quite the hard time, Zabuza, said the voice of a young male, instantly putting everyone on guard. Footsteps could be heard coming from the woods. As they turned their heads to the source, they saw a cloaked person walking towards Zabuza. About time you got here, brat, said the man. Well, what can I say, I got lost on the road to life, the cloaked person said with a cheeky grin. The eyes of the genin along with Kushina and Naomi looked at Kakashi, who had a dumbfounded look on his face as he heard this stranger use one of his excuses. Who is this guy? Wondered Naomi as she looked at the accomplice of Zabuza with an uneasy feeling at the pit of her stomach. Well, would you look at this, quite the team that old man managed to get, he continued. Kakashi no Sharingan, an Uchiha, a Nara, and some civilian girl. Then we have two rather surprising people, Namikaze Kushina, the Akai Chishio no Habanero, and the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko, her daughter, Konoha no Hime, Namikaze Naomi, the third Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko. The leaf shinobi were shocked, none more than Kushina, Kakashi, and Naomi, as this person had just revealed some rather classified information. How do you know all that? Shouted Naomi as she pulled out her naginata. No one should know that kind of information, Kushina said, narrowing her eyes. His voice sounds familiar. Answer me, shouted Naomi as she began channeling chakra into her weapon. Well, aren't you demanding, he said with a tone, of course coming from the little Kyuubi whore, it don't surprise me. That did it, the insult pissed her off, and without any warning Naomi swung her naginata, releasing a powerful gust of wind. Of course her target just stood there and was blown back, landing hard on his back. Naomi was breathing heavily as she had put a large amount of chakra into that one attack. As she was about to relax, she heard a chuckle coming from the downed person as he began to stand back up. Ha ha ha, he laughed as he stood back up. His cloak was ripped in some parts. How? Naomi asked herself. Now that wasn't very nice of you, he said as he grabbed his cloak and pulled it off. Is that any way to treat me after all these years, Oni-chan? Naomi dropped her weapon as her eyes widened as she saw him take his cloak off. Kushina had tears in her eyes as she saw him. Kakashi was speechless, he didn't know what to think or do. The genin were wondering why they were so stunned at the sight of the boy in front of them. Standing before them was a boy their age with spiky blonde hair and blue eyes with a grin plastered on his face. Naomi took one step forward as she tried to think, but only one word left her mouth. Oni-sama, Oni-sama. Kushina could only stare, she didn't know what to think at the moment. Her son, her lost son. She had finally found him, after 8 years, he was standing in front of her. He had grown into a fine young man from what she could see, his blue eyes, spiky blonde hair, and his outfit that consisted of a high-collar sleeveless black shirt, black pants and boots, and black cloth covering his left leg. On his waist he has some kind of belt with pouches, and she could also see vials filled with some sort of liquid. The genins were just staring at the scene before them. When they heard Naomi call this newcomer brother, they then remember about the lost son of the Hokage. Shikamaru narrowed his eyes as he put his hands together and got ready. He knew that at the moment Naruto was not an ally. Sakura stared at the young blonde and for some reason began to think that since he was the son of the Hokage then he would help them. Sasuke on the other hand was another problem. He was angry at how he saw his girl stare at the blonde with those loving eyes that should be for him. Kakashi was shocked at seeing his sensei's son standing in front of them, but more shocked that he wasn't on their side. He turned his attention to Kushina and saw that she was openly crying at seeing her son appear. Sochi-kun, Kushina whispered. Ha 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 ha, came the laughter of Zabuza as he walked up and stood next to Naruto. Isn't this just the most wonderful family reunion? Kushina stopped looking at her son and glared at the rogue Kiri shinobi. Her glare intensified as she saw the man place his hand on his shoulder. As much as I would love to keep watching this, we have a job to finish, so I will say this again. Hand over the old man, Zabuza said. You bastard, came the voice of Naomi as she was also glaring at Zabuza. You took my Oni-sama from us. You brainwashed him into hating us. For that I'm going to kill you, and then we'll take Oni-sama home with us. Naomi then bended down and picked up her naginata and continued to glare at the man. Kushina also grabbed her tanto and got ready. Zabuza, Kakashi said, I would suggest that you surrender. There is no way that you can keep fighting us and hope to win. I can tell that you're running low on chakra from our fight. Not to mention there are more of us. He. Well, that's not a hard problem to fix, Zabuza said. Kakashi narrowed his eyes at the man trying to figure out what he meant. Well, Naruto, do it. Naruto closed his eyes and began to concentrate. The others watched as Naruto's body began to glow, and the glow then began to spread over Zabuza. Kakashi's eyes then went wide as his Sharingan picked up what was actually happening. No, that's impossible, the Leaf Shinobi said. What's happening, Kakashi? Asked Kushina. Zabuza's chakra is replenishing at an alarming rate, he responded. Kushina looked back at her son and could help, but feel saddened that her baby was helping an enemy instead of them. They all watched as the glow died and Zabuza stood there even though they couldn't see his mouth. They knew he had a smirk on his face. You were saying, Kakashi, he taunted. Now before we begin round 2, Naruto, power me up. Naruto let out a sigh as he shook his head. Don't get overconfident, no brows. With that, what happened next was something they never seen before. Blue swords made of some strange blue energy appeared circling around both of them. Now that's more like, Zabuza said. Kakashi, round 2 begins now. Without warning, Zabuza shot towards Kakashi at a faster pace than before. Kakashi couldn't move fast enough to dodge the man. Putting his arms in front of him in an X, he tried to block the attack. Though when Zabuza's kick connected, the Sharingan wielder was sent flying back. What the fuck, Kakashi thought, what the hell happened? That kick was stronger than before, it's like his strength was increased. Naruto watched as his mentor went back to fighting the Cyclops with an amused smirk on his face as he saw the look of disbelief on the man. His attention then turned back to the two redheads in front of him who were staring at him. Sochi-kun? Kushina mumbled. Don't call me that bitch, Naruto said coldly. You have no right to refer to me as such after all the suffering you and that blonde asshole put me through. Kushina was taken back at the coldness in his voice and in the way he referred to her. Tears once again were rolling down her face. Why Sochi? Why? She asked as she fell to her knees crying. I'm sorry. Naomi watched as her mother had an emotional breakdown. She gritted her teeth as she turned and glared at her brother. Oni-sama, why are you doing this? She asked. How can you hate us so much? How you ask? Naruto shouted at her. I was tossed aside while you got everything. All because I can't use chakra and couldn't learn ninjutsu or genjutsu. Naomi stayed quiet at his comeback. It was true. They had tossed him aside from the moment they had learned that he was unable to use chakra. She could still remember when they used to play and laugh together and then when it all stopped. She hadn't been there for him. She like her family were torn. Her brother would never become a ninja, and they wouldn't learn together, they wouldn't go on missions as a team. Naomi had tears in her eyes as she recalled the way she acted, like some spoiled little brat calling her brother names that she would hear the villagers call him. Oni-sama, please forgive us and come back, Naomi pleaded. Come back. I promised things will be different this time, just come home with us. I could never forgive you or anyone else for that matter, Naruto said, taking a stance. Now the time for words has come and gone, better get ready, bitch. Without another word, the blonde shot forward at a faster pace than he should be able to move it. Naomi, still her emotional state didn't move. Kushina watched as her son slam his leg into the side of his sister, sending her tumbling across the ground. "Naomi!" Kushina shouted as she tried to run to her. Naruto turned his head to look at the incoming redhead. A smirk appeared on his face as his eyes then began to glow green. Kushina was unprepared as to what happened next. On moment she was in mid-run, the next she on the ground as she had tripped over something. Looking down at her feet, she saw that she hadn't tripped, she had been tripped. She glanced at her foot that was wrapped with vines, then her attention went back to Naruto. "Mokutan?" thought Kushina in disbelief as she glanced her son. Naruto, however, didn't let off there. What he did next was something that Kushina wasn't expecting. From his fingertips shot countless threads of a white substance that wrapped around her body. Kushina of course tried to move, but found that the white substance was holding her to the ground, preventing her from moving too much. "Okawa-san!" shouted Naomi when she saw her mother trapped. Without thinking, the young redhead shot forward to help her mother. Before she could reach her, Naruto appeared in front of her and delivered another powerful kick to her side. Naomi was sent tumbling across the ground away from her mother. Naruto, however, didn't let up. He sprinted toward her. As the girl was getting up, she felt the Kyuubi inside of her sending chakra to heal the cracked rib that she had suffered from her brother's kick. As she was about to get up, she didn't see her brother coming until she felt another kick, this time to her stomach. Once again she was sent flying away. From her spot, Kushina had tears in her eyes again, as she saw her son attack his own sibling without any remorse. Knowing that Naomi was in trouble, she began to try and loosen the substance that was holding her down to go help her daughter. "What's wrong, bitch? Can't fight back?" shouted Naruto. "Oni-sama." "Why?" asked Naomi, ignoring the insult. "I know we made a mistake, but we're sorry for what we did to you." "Sorry? As if I give a fuck," responded the blonde. "I can never forgive any of you for all the pain you all caused me. The feeling of being alone, the pain of being ignored, I can never forget any of it." Naomi struggled, but managed to get back to her feet. The pain from her brother's attack was subsiding thanks to the Kyuubi. With tears in her eyes, she looked at her brother and knew that she had no choice but to fight him. As much as didn't want to, if she didn't, he would kill her. But she wouldn't give up. She would fight him, knock him out, and she would take him back home. Gritting her teeth, Naomi ran towards her brother, her fist cocked back. Naruto saw her coming and got ready. Once she was in range, Naomi threw her fist only for Naruto to use his palm to deflect it. However, the girl didn't end her assault there. Spinning around, she brought her leg up for a kick. Once again Naruto blocked it, this time with his forearm. Naruto pushed her leg away and threw a fist of his own. The girl ducked, and using her quickness, she kicked Naruto's leg, making him lose his balance. Without missing a beat, she delivered a powerful uppercut to the blonde, knocking him onto his back. From his spot, Naruto glanced at the redhead and wiped the blood from his injured lip. Naomi looked slightly winded from the small skirmish. "I see that you're better than I thought," Naruto said, standing up and dusting of the dirt from his clothes. "Might as well get serious." With a grin, Naruto brought his two fists together. Naomi watched with wide eyes as she saw some kind of blue energy. Naruto then separated his fist, and in his hand he now held something that resembled a bone made out of energy or something. Without warning, he shot forward, spinning the bone in his hands. Naomi pulled out two kunais as her naginata had been thrown aside by her brother. Naruto began his assault on her. The redhead could only block with her kunais. Kushina was shocked at what she saw. She had never seen anything like what Naruto had done. She remembered when Tsunade had told them that he was unable to mold chakra, yet here he was using some sort of energy that resembled chakra. Could he have found a way to mold chakra during his 8-year absence? No, she didn't have time to think about that. She would get her answer after they captured him. For now she had to get free from her restraints. She was close too, she could almost touch the ground. Naruto, on the other hand, was clashing his bone made out of energy against Naomi's kunais. The young redhead knew that she had to get her naginata back. Gritting her teeth, Naomi pushed her brother back, and as fast as she could she channeled chakra into her foot and slammed it into her twin's stomach. Naruto was sent rolling across the ground away from Naomi. As he got back up, he glared at the redhead, who was running through some hand signs. "Wind style. Great breakthrough," shouted the girl as she released a ball of condensed air. Naruto was about to jump to escape the attack. However, before he could, something wrapped around his ankle. Looking down, his eyes went wide when he saw that he was being held in place by chains. His eyes went to Kushina, who had managed to free a hand from his string shot. Before he could do anything else, he felt the wind jutsu hit him full force. The chain on his ankle was also released. Naomi's jutsu sent Naruto flying back into the woods, crashing through trees. Naomi ran to her mother and began coating her kunai with wind chakra to slice the bindings that held her mother down. Once Kushina was released, both women looked at the spot that Naruto had landed in, waiting for his next move. Naruto meanwhile had gotten back on his knees and was breathing heavily. That combo had taken him by surprise, and it was due to his cockiness. He remembered what Zabuza had told him, to not let his hatred for his family blind him, or else it would come to bite him in the ass. And that just what he had done, he had let his anger get to him, but now he had calmed down, and it is payback time. Gritting his teeth, he summoned the power of the zap plate, and electricity began coursing through his body. With a roar, he discharged the electricity from his body, blasting everything around him away. Kushina and Naomi jumped back at the sight of electricity being thrown around. Both of their mouths and eyes went wide when they saw Naruto walking towards them. His body was bleeding in places, but what drew their attention was the lightning that covered his body with bolts hitting the ground. Raiden, though Kushina, what in the world is going on? How did you get all this power? Oni-sama, whispered Naomi. With a loud roar, Naruto sent the electricity in a powerful discharge, blasting everything around him away. Both redheads covered their eyes to protect them from the debris of the blast. When they uncovered their eyes, the two were flabbergasted at the sight before them. The trees and the grass was gone in a 20-foot radius. Also in the spot Naruto was standing was a small crater now. With a smirk, Naruto balled his hands into fist, and once again electricity engulfed them. However, before Naruto could take a step forward, a loud crashing sound followed by a scream of pain echoed through the air. Naruto turned his head and saw that Zabuza had been sent crashing into the trees and was slowly getting back up. It was over, the fight was over, and they had underestimated their opponents. With a quick glance back at the redheads, Naruto let out a growl as he used his agility technique to reach Zabuza faster than Kakashi could. "Zabuza!" shouted Naruto as he reached the downed man. "Oni-sama, Sochi!" called out the redheads as they ran to stop him. "Enjoy your victory today," Naruto said with a glare. "Next time it will be different." With that said, Naruto picked up Zabuza and pulled his arm over his shoulder. Kushina sent a chakra to stop Naruto from escaping. However, before the chain could reach him, out of thin air a mirror that seemed to be made of intercepted it. Next to Naruto, another person landed clad in what seemed to be hunter ninja clothing and helped pick up Zabuza. Together they quickly disappeared into the woods. With a small glance back, Naruto saw Kakashi fall to the ground. Kushina watched as her son, who she hadn't seen in so long, and finally finds him, once again run away from them. This time though she knew their paths would cross again. And when they do, she would be the one to defeat him and bring him home. For now she had to focus on helping Team 7 protect the client. Shouted Naruto as he punched a tree. "I had her, I fucking had her." Naruto rested his forehead on the tree trunk, anger still plainly visible on his face as he thought of his fight with his mother and sister. Naruto calmed down, Haku said, scowling at her companion. "What happened out there? You promised me that you wouldn't let your hatred get the better of you, yet that is not what I saw." The blonde turned to look at Haku, who was still looking displeased as he could tell from the way she was taping her foot on the ground. He knew what she was referring to. Before heading to the fight Kakashi and his genin team, he had made her a promise to not allow his anger to blind him. He was calm until he saw that the white-haired Jonin had indeed called for backup, and it came in the form of his mother and sister. "Also, what was that with the string shot? You should have known that it wouldn't keep a Jonin down for long," Haku questioned. "It was in the spur of the moment. I couldn't think of another way to restrain her fast," Naruto answered her. "What about that fucking spiderweb, dumbass?" came the gruff voice of Zabuza. Both teens turned to look at Zabuza, who was resting against a tree, giving the blonde a glare. Haku had already healed most of the man's wounds. However, the damage that he had received from Kakashi would take him about a week to recover. "Also, I agree with Haku. What the hell was that? You were practically playing with the girl for most of your fight," the man stated. "If you couldn't kill her, then you should have knocked her out instead." Naruto gritted his teeth at the comment that he wasn't capable of killing her. Naruto, as much as you say that you hate her, I know deep down in your heart there is still a part of you that cares for her, Haku said. Naruto turned to her and gave her a glare which she gave back to him. Zabuza didn't say anything as he just stared at his two students. There is no care in my heart for that bitch. Next time I face her I will kill her, Naruto said. There won't be a next time, dumbass, Zabuza said. Next time we come face to face with them it will be a hell of a lot different. The one you most likely will fight is your mother. That bitch isn't my mother, Naruto said. Slap. The sound of flesh hitting flesh echoed through the areas, leaving only silence apart from the random bug that made a noise. Naruto, whose face had been forced to look the other direction, looked at the arm and saw Haku giving him the most heated glare she had ever given him. Stop acting like a spoiled brat, Naruto-kun, she said. I know of how you said they treated you, but that is in the past, let it go. Let it go? Let it go. How the fuck am I supposed to let the way they treated me go? Naruto raged at her. Naruto, enough. Zabuza shouted as he stood up with the help of the tree. We'll talk about this later. Let's head back to our hideout. I need to rest and you need to cool down. With an angry huff, Naruto went and took one of Zabuza's arms, throwing it over his shoulder, and began to move to the hideout. Haku, who was still angry at her friend, followed quietly behind them. Konoha Group. It wasn't long after the run-in with Zabuza and Naruto that the Leaf Shinobi had finally arrived to their destination, Nami no Kuni. Throughout the remaining time to get to Nami, all the genins had been quiet while the adults were still thinking of how Zabuza got a hold of Naruto and about the report that they would have to send the Yondaime. Naomi was thinking about how easily her niece Sama had defeated her. According to her father, she was at least a solid chunin in strength, yet she was tossed around like a genin. But she couldn't really come up with a reasonable excuse. She knew that if her brother had been with Zabuza, then he would have more experience in battle than her. However, she still could get over how Naruto had talked to her and her mother, and as awkward as felt, when they fought, she felt a little excited. Shikamaru had the same line of thought that Kakashi probably had. His father had told him about the son of the Yondaime, a boy who had been born without chakra. That was something he never understood. You need chakra to live, and everyone has chakra in their bodies, even civilians. Yet, from what he had been sensing in the battle between Naomi and Naruto, Naruto used some sort of ninjutsu that didn't require chakra. Although he could have sworn that he felt another type of energy in his body, it was nearly unnoticeable, but it was there. Sakura was being Sakura, and the only thing going through her head was that the blonde bastard only went after the redhead because he was too afraid to face her Sasuke-kun. Sasuke was in a different state of mind after watching the battle between the Namikaze twins. He was pissed at how strong they were. He had been training hard every day to avenge his clan. But, after watching that battle, he had seen that the world was unfair. A bastard without the ability to manipulate chakra was far stronger than a member of the Uchiha clan was. He would find that bastard and force him to teach him or give him whatever was making him strong. He needed that power that didn't use chakra to kill his brother. It was nighttime in Nami and everyone had gathered together to talk about what they would be doing when Zabuza returned. I have sent a message to Hokage-sama informing him of our encounter with Zabuza and Naruto, Kakashi said. We will wait to receive his orders. I just hope they come back in time. Naomi just stood up from her seat and walked to the door. I'm gonna go get some fresh air. I need to think about something. Kushina just watched her daughter leave. She knew that she was hurting from her reunion with her twin, and not just her, she too was hurt. For years Kushina had spent a lot of time searching for her son. Every time she was on a mission she would talk to the locals to see if a boy with his description had been in the area. All those times she had been unsuccessful, but now after so long her baby had finally appeared. When she saw him she couldn't help but want to run up to him and embrace him. However, a part of her had been afraid that he would hate her. And that was how it was. Her son despised her and her family. Now she was worried about what he thought of Konoha as a whole. Did he hate the village also? Even if he did, he's her son and she will take him back home one way or another. Konoha. Minato had finally gotten home after a long day in the office. Having to do paperwork, meet with clients, send teams on missions really tired him out, and top of it all his wife and daughter had gone on a mission to back up his student and his team. Sighing, he was about to go to the kitchen to find something to eat when someone knocked on his door. This of course surprised him as not many people came to his house and knocked. Only a few did, and they mostly came around when Kushina was home. Walking to the door and opening it, He was face to face with the tracking squad he had sent out earlier that week in search of a missing Chunin. "Hokage-sama, we found him," the woman in the front said, "but we need to tell you something very important." "What is it? Come in," Minato said, moving aside to allow her and her team inside. "The thing is, when we found Suzuki, he was deceased," Sume said, making the blonde man cringe. "However, after searching a bit more, we found the smell of the perpetrator." "You did? Well, did you recognize the smell?" asked the man. "Yes, I did. It was a smell that I hadn't sensed in a long time, Hokage-sama, and I don't know how to say this, but the person who killed him was," Sume said with a solemn face, "Namikaze Naruto, your son." Minato's eyes went wide at the sound of his missing son's name. His own flesh and blood had killed one of his shinobis, then something else hit him. Over the past 8 years, many other shinobi had also gone missing during missions, mostly genin and chunin, and the occasional jonin. But now that he heard this, could it have been possible that the reason those ninjas had died was because they had come across Naruto? "Sume, I want you and your team to keep this to yourselves for now while I think about how to approach this situation," Minato said. "If the council learns of this, then they will demand that Naruto be placed in the bingo book." "We understand, Minato," was all Sume managed to say when a puff of smoke appeared in between them. When the smoke cleared, all that was left was a small brown dog wearing a leaf headband and a blue vest. "Yo Minato, I have an urgent message from Kakashi and Kushina," the dog said, pulling out a scroll from his vest. Minato took the scroll from him and began to read it. His eyes went wide at what he was reading and he suddenly had an idea. "Sume, go and send a message to assemble the council," Minato ordered. "What?" Sume questioned. "Kushina and Kakashi might have just given me a very vital piece of information. Just go. Once the council is together, everything will become clear," he said with a smile. It was 20 minutes later that the council had gathered in an urgent meeting. Sitting on one side were the clan heads from the most prominent families, on the other side was the Anbu Black Ops chief along with the 3 civilian representatives. Also in the meeting were the 3 elders of the village. The door to the council room opened and in walked Minato along with his sensei Jiraiya of the Sannin and his predecessor, the 3rd Hokage of the Konohagakure, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Minato took his seat while Jiraiya stood next to him. Meanwhile, Sarutobi went and took his seat as the head of his clan. The blonde Hokage looked around the room and thinking on how to start this council meeting. His gaze met the clan heads who were waiting for him to start. With a heavy sigh he began. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," Minato began. "The reason as to why I have summoned all of you is because of something that I have discovered." "What did you discover, Hokage-sama?" asked a man with white eyes who at first glance one would think he was blind. "Not too long ago, Sume, whom I had sent out on a mission earlier this week, returned with some vital information that will bring some unresolved cases to a close," he said. "Are you talking about the death of many of our shinobi?" asked the female elder Kaharu. Indeed, this time it was Sume who answered. All the people in the room instantly became very interested in the news. Many of the clan heads had lost some of their members, and to learn that they had led to the perpetrator was good news to them. "A couple of weeks ago I sent Chunin, Yoshida Suzuki, on a mission to Tori no Kuni. Unfortunately, he never returned to the village," Minato said with a sad look on his face. "We declared him Mia. At the time he had some important information for the village. So I sent Sume and a team of tracker ninjas to locate him. By the time they got to him he was deceased. But this was not any kind of ambush, he still had all the document on his person when he was found. That stunned the council. They knew that if someone had been after him for the documents that he had, they would have taken them. Yet here they were being told that the papers were recovered. That could only mean that he had come across a bounty hunter or an enemy shinobi. "Hokage-sama, I take it that Sume-sama found the scent of who could have done it?" asked a man who wore sunglasses. "Indeed she did, Shibi," Minato said, looking over at the wild-looking woman. "When my team found Suzuki, we checked his body and like Hokage-sama said, the papers were still on him," Sume began. "I had one of my team members who is also a medic check the man, and he found a stab wound in the middle of his chest. A stab in the middle of the chest instantly made everyone aware that whoever killed him might also be responsible of the death of many ninjas in the past 4 years. The village didn't always recover the bodies of their ninjas quickly. Sometimes it could take a few weeks to months before they got the bodies, and that's if they got the bodies. When they did, they were sent for an autopsy to see the cause of death, and the results were always the same: the ninja died of a stab wound in the chest. So that means whoever killed him is also responsible for the deaths of the other shinobi, said the White Eye Man. Well, did you recognize the scent, Sume-san? Sume hesitated for a second. She glanced at Minato, who just gave her a nod. Taking a deep breath, she looked back at the members of the room. At first I didn't smell anything. It wasn't until I was close to the body that I smelled something familiar. It was a scent that I had been asked to track down years ago by Hokage-sama. The scent that I got from him was that of. Sume said as the room was quiet. Namikaze Naruto. The entire room was silent, so silent that not even crickets were making a sound. Eyes fell on the blonde Hokage, then back to the woman. They were stunned beyond anything in the life. They all knew of the missing child of the Hokage. A child that was born without chakra, someone who should have died at birth, but somehow lived. He was also known in the village as a disgrace to the Hokage's family and the Uzumaki clan that his mother was a part of. Someone who would never be a shinobi, would never inherit the title of clan head. You're joking, right, Sume? Asked a rather large man named Shuza. I'm afraid not, she replied. This time a platinum blonde-haired man spoke up. But how is that possible? The child was born without chakra. Even if he got some training, he would never be able to defeat a shinobi, especially a chunin. Hokage-sama, spoke up Hiyashi Hyuga, do you know anything else? You seem a little too calm knowing that your son has been killing our shinobi. Minato, spoke Sarutobi for the first time. I know this is hard for you, but if your son has indeed been killing leaf ninjas, then you must do what is best for the village and place him in the bingo book. And there it was, the moment the Minato had been waiting for someone to bring up the point of putting Naruto in the bingo book to be hunted down by hunter nins. That would be the first thing I would have done when I heard that my son was the killer, Minato said. But before we go further, I would like to bring a new piece of information. Minato, there is no point in saying anything, Kaharu said. Your son has to be taken care of unless you want him to keep killing our shinobi. Homura, Danzo, say something. I agree with Kaharu, Hokage-sama, spoke Homura. I understand that it is the right thing to do. However, listen to this first, Minato said. A few days ago I sent out Team 7 lead by Kakashi Hitaki on a mission to Wave. This mission was a C rank. That however turned into B-rank mission when his team encountered the demon brothers of Kiri. His team decided to continue the mission and sent a request for backup, which I sent in the form of my wife and daughter. What does this have to do with your son? Asked Homura. I was getting to that, the blonde said. Kakashi then face off against another missing nin. This time however was someone stronger than Chunins. It was Zabuza Momochi. It was also during that time that Kushina and Naomi arrived to rescue him and Team 7. However, before Kushina could strike Zabuza down, another of the man's companions entered the fight. This time it was Naruto. What? You're saying that your son is in league with one of Kirigakure's most dangerous missing nins? Asked Homura. Now he really has to be put in the bingo book, a civilian shouted. Minato, you wouldn't be telling us this if there was more, spoke a man with black hair who looked to just awoken from a nap. Indeed, he said, while Kakashi once again engaged Zabuza in a fight. Naomi and Kushina tried to apprehend Naruto, but it was tougher than they expected. Naruto managed to immobilize Kushina and engage Naomi in a fight. During the fight, according to Kushina, he used ninjutsu. But that is impossible, said a blonde woman. I checked Naruto myself when he was just a child and his chakra coils were empty of chakra. There is no way he should be able to use ninjutsu, even if he somehow defied the law and has lived this long. That is why I'm saying this, if Naruto has somehow obtained a Kekkei Genkai that allow him to use ninjutsu without chakra, what else is he capable of? We never gave him a chance to see his potential when he was a child. Also, if this gets out to other villages that he has a bloodline that don't require chakra to use ninjutsu, do you really think that they wouldn't try and obtain it? Minato said. A ninja capable of using ninjutsu without chakra. A strange Kekkei Genkai that enables him to do so, Shukaku said. If this information go to Kumo or Iwa, then they would do anything to get their hands on Naruto to try and breed a whole new generation of shinobi. Then the only option at the time would be to bring Naruto here to the village to face a trial for his crimes and be punished here, Shibi said. Indeed, but if the boy does have a new Kekkei Genkai, then it would be prudent to first see if it capable of being passed down before the boy is imprisoned or executed for the crimes against the leaf. Danzo spoke, getting the attention. Hokage-sama, are you planning on sending out a team of Anbu to capture him? Hiashi's hard gaze fell on Minato as he thought of all the members of his clan that fell to the boy. He wanted to see some punishment. Inoichi's mind was in the same mind track as he thought of his fellow clan members who had died in the past few years. He knew that both Shuza and Shukaku had also lost a few members. Sume and Shibi had been some of the lucky ones to not have had a member of their clan die at the hands of Naruto. Sarutobi and his student Tsunade just stayed quiet. Well, the blonde woman wanted to check Naruto's body again to see what had changed since the last time. Since we can't risk Naruto falling into the hands of another village by placing him in the bingo book, I have decided that he will be captured and brought here to face his punishment, Minato said. Hokage-sama, if you will allow me, I will put together a team of my best Anbu to capture the boy, spoke the Anbu commander. No, Minato said, the person who will be going after Naruto will be. With all the attention on him, he glanced at his teacher who had stayed quiet throughout the entire meeting and gave him a nod. Myself. Naruto sat looking at the sun rise in the horizon, his mind still fogged from the fight he had with his former family. The nerve of that woman to call him her child after all she did to him when he was small. Now she says that she's sorry for what she did and that she wants him to return to the village to be the happy family that they're supposed to be. As if he would go back to that hell hole, he left to find a place to belong, a place where he would be able to become who he was meant to be. He swore that he would make them pay for what they had done, and he got the chance to do it. However, he allowed his anger to blind him. But he would get a second chance soon enough, and when he did, then he would not let what happened repeat itself. This time he would go all out. However, he knew that the next time he fights he will need more power, and for that he will need to awaken another plate. The blonde stood up from his spot on the roof of their current hideout and jumped to the ground. Quietly he walked up to the door only for it to open before he could touch it. Naruto stepped back as he saw that his female teammate was coming out with a basket in hand. Good morning, Haku-chan, greeted the blonde. Morning, Naruto-kun. Haku replied, even though she was still a little mad at her blonde companion. Where are you headed this early in the morning? Just going to find some herbs to help Zabuza's wounds heal faster. Naruto let out a sigh. Even though he could recover, there was a limit as to the amount of damage he could heal. Bruises and minor cut or fractures were easy enough, along with restoring lost stamina and chakra, but the damage Zabuza received in his fight with Hitaki, those were beyond his level. Now the man was bedridden, healing the old-fashioned way, but with Haku's medical knowledge he would be up and about within a few days. Okay, just be careful, Naruto told her as he moved out of the way. I will. With that, Haku made her way to the forest to look for the herbs she needed. Naruto watched her go, hoping that she would be alright. Who the hell was he fooling? He knew Haku could take care of herself. After seeing her disappear in the trees, the bond walked inside the hut and went to sit on the mat in a lotus position. It was time to start the test for a new plate. Mindscape. When Naruto opened his eyes, he found himself in one of the strangest places yet. He found himself in a mountainous area. That alone wasn't the strange thing though. What was strange was that there were strange blue crystals all over the place. The blonde soon began to walk around to try and locate the answer to awakening this plate. The more he walked, the more he was amazed by the place. Soon he came to a cliff that gave a great view of a giant tree. Man, that is one big tree, he said to himself, but what is this weird thing I'm sensing? It feels familiar for some reason. Oh well, questions for later. Naruto turned his back to the tree and began to walk, but soon stopped when he heard a rustling sound. Quickly turning, he saw that a shrub had been hit by the wind or something. Just as he was about to turn around, a shadow fell over him. As if sensing the danger, Naruto jumped as fast as he could just as something crashed into the ground, causing a dust cloud to kick up, blocking his sight. The blonde quickly brought his palms together and took his regular stance to get ready for whoever or whatever would appear. That was quite the evasion, a soft voice said. Naruto's head turned in the direction of the trees and watched as a tall man walked out from within the forest. He had dark blue hair. He wore a strange outfit that consisted of gray pant, gray undershirt with a blue vest over it, blue boots, blue gloves with a blue jewel of some sort, a dark cape, and in his left he had a staff with a large sapphire on it. Though the one feature that drew the blonde's attention the most were the man's ocean blue eyes, the very same color of his. Before he could respond, the man, Naruto, was forced to dodge an incoming attack. Now he finally got a glance at the thing that had attacked him before the man appeared. In front of Naruto, where he had been standing not too long ago, was a tall bipedal dog-like creature glaring at him. "Who the hell are you two?" Naruto asked, as this was the first time he actually met someone that could communicate with him within his mindscape. "Oh, how rude of me," the man said. "The name I go by is Sir Aaron, and the Pokemon before you is my friend and partner Lucario. And we are here on behalf of Arceus-sama to give you the toughest test yet." From Arceus, the blonde repeated. It had been years since he had heard anything about Arceus. "What is my test then?" Sir Aaron chuckled before he responded. "Your test is to defeat Lucario using nothing more than aura." "Aura?" repeated the blonde. Said a confused Aaron. "You don't know what aura is?" "Sorry, this is the first time hearing that word actually," Naruto said, turning his attention to Lucario, who had released a growl. "Really? Well then I will give you the abridged version. Aura is the spiritual energy that lies in the bodies of humans. This energy can be used to do many things. It can help you communicate telepathically, sense those around you, create barriers, and even create attacks," Sir Aaron said. "Sounds almost like chakra," murmured the blonde. "In way it is, but however aura is more versatile and can be deployed in a more pure form. It's also the essence of life," the man said. "The essence of life? Wait, is that why I'm alive?" Sir Aaron smiled. "Yes, it's shocking, but you are alive because aura replaced the chakra that you were born without, and with aura you will be able to use some of the same skills as shinobi, such as tree walking and water walking, but to get there you must first reach a certain level in using aura." "Sir Aaron, this talk has gone long enough. It's time to finish what Arceus-sama requested us to do." Lucario spoke for the first time. "Indeed, my friend," Aaron responded. "Naruto-kun, it's time. You must fight Lucario using only aura. All you need to do is reach deep within you and grasp the essence that has been dormant within you." Before Naruto could ask something, Sir Aaron tossed him a piece of cloth. "One more thing, as I said, you must awaken and use your aura to defeat Lucario, but to do this you must fight blindfolded. This will help you use your other senses that will help you with completing this task," Aaron commented. As soon as Naruto put the cloth on, he was sent flying back courtesy of a strong kick to the stomach. As the blonde stumbled through the ground, Lucario jumped into the air and its foot began to glow as he dived down towards Naruto. Just as Naruto was getting back to his feet, gritting his teeth, he tried to use his ears to pick up any movement around him like Zabuza had tried to teach him. However, for some reason he was unable to pick up anything. Then out of nowhere he was struck on the side of his head, knocking him to the ground once again. Sir Aaron stood in his same place watching as how his first student attacked the blonde and couldn't help but wonder why it was taking him so long to open his senses to the aura within. Something was not right. The man frowned as he saw Lucario deliver another powerful force palm. "Lucario, stop," Sir Aaron called out to his student. The bipedal dog stopped at the command from his master and glared down at the blonde, who removed the blindfold and glared at Aaron. "Take a break, Naruto-kun," the man said, not even bothered by the glare. "Why can't I use the power of the other plates I already awaken?" the blonde asked. Sir Aaron looked at him, then turned his gaze to the sky. "Why? It's quite simple. The fist plate is the fighting type, which in turn is more in tune with aura. It is why most of the fighting type Pokémons were able to use aura much easier than the other types. So if I can use aura, then I will be able to use the fighting type moves and abilities a lot easier?" "Indeed," the man said. "All you need to do in reality is pull the aura and you will awaken the plate. After awakening it, it's up to you to practice with it to learn how to master the pure aura and not its elemental variety." Meanwhile, back in Konohagakure, the Hokage was in his home preparing for his trip to Nami, where he would be apprehending his own flesh and blood. It pained Minato to have to resort to this, but it's the only way that he would be able to bring him back home. Yet even when he does bring his son back, there is no guarantee that he will forgive them from what he and Kushina did to him. Still, he had to try, and he would keep on trying till he forgives them, and then they can be a happy family that they were meant to be. Looking up from his work, he glanced out the window and looked at the bright moon that showered the village in its soothing glow. When he brings Naruto back, he knows that the council will do everything in their hands to get his son's mysterious abilities at any cost. "Soon, we will be a family again, even if I have to use this," Minato said, looking at this hands. Konoha Shinobi. Naomi was sitting on the roof of Tazuna's house looking at the moon, wondering if her brother was also looking up at it. Just thinking about him brought tears to her eyes. It had been all her fault that her brother had abandoned them. She could have been there for him, but she was far too focused on the attention that she was given that she became blind to anything else. Now here she was face to face with her brother again after 8 long years, and things had sure changed a lot. Naruto had become strong, stronger than she thought he could ever be, and he didn't without being able to use chakra at all. She wondered how he acquired such powerful skills that allowed him to immobilize their mother for a few minutes. Yet she had also been tossed around like a rag doll, all because she didn't want to hurt him. However, he didn't have a problem hurting them. Sighing, Naomi stood up and turned around to look at her former classmate whom had decided to show up. "What the hell do you want, Sasuke?" she asked in an annoyed tone. "TCH, you're thinking about that loser, aren't you?" the Uchiha responded. "I don't see what the big deal everyone is making about him. He got lucky against you." "My Oni-sama is no loser, Teme," she said angrily, making the boy scowl. "He's a loser who left because he was weak, and yet you still pinned to him. I don't see what you see in him that makes him better than an elite Uchiha such as myself," Sasuke said. "Sooner or later you will become mine one way or another." With those words the duck-haired boy left, leaving a seething Naomi behind who seemed ready to pull a kunai and stab it into his skull. Kushina, who had been close, frowned as she heard what the arrogant brat had told her daughter both about her son and how he would own her one way or another. Never had she had the urge to kill the son of her friend before, but now that's what she wanted to do. However, something else occupied her mind. She kept thinking back to the encounter with Naruto. He had been able to subdue her with that strange silky thread, and her chakra chains had been unable to remove it, which meant that he didn't use chakra, but that was impossible. "No. Ka-san?" Kushina heard the voice of her daughter call her. Naruto. He didn't know how long he had been here, nor did he have the time as he kept being sent crashing through the ground by a dog. Naruto shakily once again stood up and saw nothing but darkness as he was still blindfolded. How was he supposed to defeat an opponent who was a master at using aura without seeing and using his plate's powers? "Fuck, this is fucking ridiculous. How am I supposed to fight this mud? I need the power of my plates. Yet this bastard says I can't use them, and his explanation of aura was so vague," thought Naruto angrily. "Come on Naruto, think. There has to be a way to awaken this aura shit. Calm down and concentrate, let go of your emotions and concentrate on your task ahead," a voice suddenly said in the blonde's mind, a rather familiar voice. "It can't be," Naruto said. "Arceus? Indeed, I can barely communicate at the moment. I'm using the little energy I can to do so now, but for now concentrate like I said. The god of Pokemon said, we will meet again." With that, just like he had spoken to him, he was gone again, but even if it was for just a little bit, he had heard the voice of the one he cared for, and that made him happy. "Okay, just like Arceus said, concentrate you dumb blonde," he repeated. "First thing first, calm down." Naruto took in a deep breath and then released it. He inhaled and exhaled again. Slowly he began to calm down. Images of his former family soon surfaced, and once again he began to get pissed, but he stopped for a moment. "No, now's not the moment. Tossed your anger aside, that's it," the blonde muttered. "Feel all around you." Letting the images fade into the background, Naruto began to look deeper into himself. He had to do this. Then he saw something. Ahead of him he could see a small blue orb. He lifted his hand and reached for it. While he tried to reach, time for him seemed to get longer. Sir Aaron gasped as he felt what he had been waiting for. A small smile appeared on his face as he saw that his student also sensed it. It looked like the heir had finally done it. He had taken a big step towards his future. Lucario shot forward to strike down the blonde. His paw began to glow white as he charged up a focus punch. Once close he threw the attack, however the attack never hit home, as Naruto's hand shot up and grabbed his wrist, stopping the attack. "I see you, Lucario," he said, smirking as he cocked his free hand back and his fist glowed blue before punching the dog, sending him flying for the first time. Naruto wasted no time. He ran straight at his opponent, both of his fists glowing with the blue flame-like energy that he had finally discovered. Without even stopping his momentum, he ducked as Lucario formed a bone club to strike him with. A smirk plastered on his face. He delivered an uppercut, hitting the dog in its chin, lifting him slightly off the ground. He didn't stop there though, as he used his other fist to punch him in the stomach, knocking him away only to land at the feet of Sir Aaron. "Well, how was that?" Naruto said, removing the blindfold. "Very well done, Naruto-kun," the man said with a smile. "You finally did it." Before the blonde, a dull-colored plate appeared before it began to glow, turning a maroon color, signifying that it had awakened. Now that you have awakened the aura within you, it is up to you to harness its full power, Eren said. Our time together may have been short, but we will surely meet again in the future. For now, return, as you friends are getting worried. Thank you, Naruto said with a slight bow. Go, and make the Arceus-sama proud, as you are his legacy. With that, Naruto disappeared from his mind, returning to the real world. Although he released some of it, his hatred still for his family still runs deep. In order to fully become one with the plates, he must let go of it, Eren said. Indeed, Arceus-sama never hated humans, he didn't like them either. Naruto must learn to do the same, Lucario said, standing up. Are you alright? Yes, he punched me well, but it's nothing I can't handle. I did take it easy on him after all. Haha, yes you did. Had you mega evolved, he would never had done it. For now it's enough. Next time though it will be different. Hideout. It had been 4 days since Naruto had gone into his mind to awaken a plate, the longest time he had ever taken. Zabuza was sitting on the couch as he stared at the blonde. Haku was making something to eat. The day that they would confront the Konoha shinobi was approaching, and the brat had to wake before they can go. Sighing, he closed his eyes to rest a little, when he was suddenly hit with a wave of powerful energy. Eyes snapping open, the man stared as Naruto stood up from his position, as a bluish hue covered his body. His eyes open, revealing a pair of glowing blue eyes. Holy shit, what is this energy? Zabuza thought, he's stronger now, I can feel it. Naruto-kun, spoke a worried Haku, who had ran into the room with Senbon in her hands ready to attack. I'm back, the brat said with a smirk as the energy died down. About time, brat, the man said, get ready, we will be striking at dawn. Zabuza stood up and walked out of the hideout. Haku came up to Naruto and wrapped her arms around him. Baka, don't worry me like that again, she said softly. I'll try not